Taking you around the world of live sports video production in 2021. This is the SVG SportsTech On Demand series. Brandon Costa from SVG. Happy to be talking camera technology with our friends at Panasonic. We're joined by a good friend of SVG, Jim Jensen. He's Panasonic's senior category owner for PTZ and remote systems. Jim, it's always a pleasure to see you. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Now, of course, thanks so much for being here. Look, we could go a lot of different avenues in the world of Panasonic because you guys do so much, but let's stick to your wheelhouse of PTZs and remote systems because there's such a fascinating use case in sports production right now. I'm wondering, what have you noticed in the trend? Look, PTZs and remotes and robotics been popular tools for live sports broadcasters to get angles in places where they maybe normally wouldn't be able to, get more cameras out there despite the number of operators that you might have. Right. But in this hybrid world that we're in now, where broadcasters maybe are highly restricted to the number of people that they can have on site, how are you noticing your customers use PTZs and remote camera systems differently?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. Panasonic has actually been making integrated PTZs actually since 2008. Mm-hmm. And, year on year on year, we've seen growth. But, with the pandemic and the impact that has had, it really started to skyrocket sales because, as you alluded to, in particular in sports, they needed to pull off some of the games, but there had to be limited staff, whether that would be on the tech side, whether that would be those within the facility. And it really presented a lot of challenges. And so all of a sudden is, how do you pull that off? You can't have as many camera operators. You have to have production value so that your content is compelling. And that's where PTZs really came in. People really started to discover the advantages of them with some of the technical advancements that have taken place over the years.
Now, what work have you guys done over the past 12 months, especially as it comes to new product launches? Have you released any new camera technologies, whether it was in response to what's been going on or not? How are you seeing your product line evolve right now?
Yeah, well, we were actually very fortunate. Just before the pandemic hit, we had really launched some of our key PTZ models. So we were very fortunate to be in a position to offer products that were ready and shippable and had really been formulated based on the voice of the customer. So when the pandemic hit, they really started to take advantage of some of the additional features that were on the PTZs. For example, if they were streaming directly from the PTZ, SRT became very important to them because of the bandwidth challenges that some of them found themselves in. And so they needed to find SRT to deliver a stream that was really reliable and secure. So that's just one, particular example. Also, the advancement with IP workflows. Being remote and REMI production really being prevalent, is an IP workflow really became a necessity. And we were just happened to be very well positioned to have that workflow already worked out.
Nice. I want to ask you specifically about the Tecnopoint. When we think about pan tilt zooms, we kind of think mentally, you picture a lot the device that's sitting right over your shoulder right now. How are you guys doing even bigger and better things and bringing new kind of capabilities to those unmanned camera units?
Yeah, so what has happened because of the demand of PTZs, every one of our customers want to take it to the next level and they want to add production value. And so Tecnopoint is that answer for us. It is a well-machined, well-structured software solution that allows our PTZs to be used on a rail system or an elevator system, or a totem is what we call it, which is suitable for outdoor use. So now all of a sudden you can bring your PTZ on a rail system and get shots you've never had before, and that really excited the sports community for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Especially like you said, at this time where we're trying to maybe tell a different story with no fans in the stands. So you're looking to give people different kinds of access maybe they couldn't get before. You know, I know we ran a lot of NFL draft coverage, and your guys' PTZ cameras were involved in that production in a pretty unique way. In what ways were PTZs more prominent in the NFL draft coverage this year for the various networks that were involved? And what maybe some other interesting use cases you've seen of PTZ and remote systems used over the past recent few months?
Yeah, the NFL draft is a very interesting case study because they had the challenges of COVID in the sense that they couldn't have as much staff there. And yet, you know, the NFL draft is a very compelling story. It's a very emotional story for those players being selected. And so they wanted to capture each of those moments. And they chose our PTZs to capture those moments before a player was selected, and then when they were interviewed after. And they went to 32 different locations. And one of the locations actually even ended up being in Guam, with a person that was selected for the Atlanta Falcons. So here you have this whole system capturing all these emotions with the fewest people possible with the greatest picture quality. So it really was a feat that, you know, we're very proud and honored to be a part of.
Yeah, you mentioned rail cams. I'm not sure if it totally applies here, but you guys were involved in the NBA bubble last summer too. In what ways were you helping that? Because, you know, that was talk about a unique production. That was definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA really wanted to play their games, obviously, you know, for the benefit of the players, right? But the audience wanted to watch the games. So, you know, here you have these two dynamics. And so, you know, they centered it all around in Orlando at the, you know, at the facility there. But they wanted to capture the game, again, with tremendous picture quality and great storytelling, right? And so that's where our PTZs came in, to have all these different angles with, again, very few, you know, people on site, and to be able to control them remotely. And again, another project we're very much honored to be a part of. And people saw the benefit of the PTZ, something they couldn't pull off with other camera technology, quite frankly.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And I'm sure as we look ahead into the future, look, there's a lot of things they're going to stick. And it's not like PTZs and robotics and remote camera systems came out of nowhere. These were a part of, you know, live sports video productions for quite some time. So as we see, at least in the United States, you know, stadium fan capacities start to go up as we head into the summer, and maybe live television production looks a little bit more like it did pre-pandemic with people on site and trucks and everything. Have to imagine that there's still going to be some hesitancy to just empty the staff and have everyone on site. So how do you continue to see PTZs and remotes playing a part in high-end live sports production for the foreseeable future?
Yeah, so, you know, what's very interesting, you know, that the pandemic definitely drove PTZ sales and REMI production. But what the sports market and other markets really realized is that they really grew their online audience, you know, and that online audience became very important to them. So as we, gratefully come back and start having some attended events, the sports groups don't want to abandon that online audience. You know, they want to keep up that fan base. So from our discussions within the sports community, PTZs and their usage is not going away. In fact, they're expanding more and more, and they keep asking Panasonic to push the envelope because that's what we're known for doing. And we're excited about that in those partnerships.
And we expect you to keep pushing the envelope. Yeah. We really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much for sharing your expertise and everything that you guys have been up to, what you see coming down the line. Always a pleasure to talk to you. And thanks to you and everyone at the team for everything you're doing over at Panasonic.
Yep. And thank everyone to SVG, and enjoyed the conversation very much. Thank you.
All right. He is Jim Jensen. He is Panasonic's senior category owner for PTZ and remote systems. Definitely hit him up if you have questions. Check out more about what Panasonic is up to and see more of the SVG SportsTech On Demand series right now. Just do it all over at sportsvideo.org.